Hey there, everyone. It's Denise Salcedo. Welcome back to the channel. I have just been bringing out so many interviews, and I'm very happy to introduce to you my guest for today because we just recently got to know each other, and she's been doing spectacular stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Spice Ranger, Kayla Sparks. Hey, Kayla.
Oh, what an intro. Thank you so much, Denise. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes, I got to tell you, Kayla. Okay, so we met at Mission Pro Wrestling. I believe it was the end of last year when you did Silver Bells.
Yes.
And instantly, I remember because I was doing commentary for your match and I
Mhm.
was just blown away by you. I'm like, oh my God, this girl,
Aw.
she's so fun. She's so good. She brings a lot of life into the wrestling ring. And it was just so cool to get to see you, do that match. You were definitely one of the standouts that night. And then
Aw.
on top of that, I started seeing you like everywhere. And I'm like, oh my God, this girl is hustling. So then I followed you on Instagram or Twitter or something like that. And my favorite thing about you is that you're always happy and you have such an infectious energy. And I was like, I need to interview Kayla.
Aw, that's amazing. Yeah, thank you so much, Denise. That means a lot to me.
No, seriously, you have been hustling. A lot of people may not know this, but you not only were you were the first female to appear on both AEW and WWE television on the exact same night.
Thank
And
you.
I know that that's, given the politics of AEW versus WWE and this and that, how does it feel to kind of be able to say that you were able to accomplish that?
I mean, oh my gosh, Denise, it's surreal. Like I'm still pinching myself. Like I can't believe it actually happened. I mean, it was just surreal to me to actually be, on AEW on Rampage. That was my first, national TV exposure with Serena Deeb, who's one of the greatest. I love her. And and then WWE came along and I, took that opportunity and it was so much fun doing the kiss cam with the Los Lotharios. That was amazing. And I can't believe that I was able to pull that off. And people were saying like, you're like the new Rick Rude now because he did it back, on Nitro, WCW, and Monday Night Raw, the Monday Night War. And so that was amazing to actually be compared to like a legend like that. So
That is so cool, honestly. And let's talk about that because you've been able to do so much. Like within the last year with AEW, you made several appearances with them. You mentioned making your debut with Thunder Rosa on Dark Elevation, but that Dark Elevation was shot at Arthur Ashe. Like what a moment. And then the last 6 months, you've been making several appearances on WWE, one of which the last one was a huge one where you were in a trios match with Asuka, Alexa Bliss, and Bianca Belair. I don't even know where to start with you, Kayla. Let's kick it off with that, that recent match that you were able to do on not just WWE television, but Monday Night Raw against these three women that are, at the very top of their game.
yeah, I mean, you said it, like that was just surreal to even be on Monday Night Raw and then let alone be with like the three of the greatest women wrestlers right now in the game. And like it was just such an honor and a privilege to be on Monday Night Raw, to be in the ring with them, just to be, that was my first, moment in a WWE ring. So I was just taking it all in. Like I've dreamt about it since I was a kid. So you could just imagine like how crazy surreal that was for me. And I was just so honored, so blessed to be able to have the opportunity.
How nervous were you for that?
Oh my gosh, I was really nervous. But you know what? I feel like, I was like this past year, like coming back to wrestling after a 14-year hiatus. I mean, that was such a long time to be away from it. And, you do have like, I am human, like you do have your doubts and like, am I ever gonna be how I was when I was a teenager when I started? But I just said to myself, you know what, Kayla, you worked hard for this. This is what you dreamt about since you were a kid, and just soak it all in and just don't be nervous because you got this. And like I'm so thankful and blessed to have like all my friends and family that support me, and just that was getting me through it, like to shake off the nerves.
So I know that you've been doing multiple appearances with WWE. You got to be part of the 24/7 championship double wedding that they did. I know you were you were part of a 24/7 championship skit also during the bar scene where there was like a
Yeah.
fight and all of that. You got to take a kiss from Los Lotharios. You name it. You've had little appearances here and there. So how did this go from like, here are some appearances for you, Kayla, and now, let's put you in this match on
Right.
Raw. How did that all happen for you?
I mean, I really don't know. I mean, I'm just, since I came back last year, I just been taking every opportunity I can. I've been traveling a lot, trying to put on the best matches I can, just trying to get my name out there. And thank God for social media now, because that wasn't around when I was starting out in 2002. It was just like YouTube was just starting out, and I think MySpace came along. But now, like, it's just amazing now, the internet, like how much it's like you have like the internet at your fingertips now with social media. So just getting my name out there, and just it's been my dream since I was a kid. And I'm just such, like, since I was a kid, I was just such a hard worker and just always wanted to go after my dreams no matter what. So it's been amazing. I can't believe, like, what you just said, like from the kids camp to being in the wedding ceremony and the back. That was so much fun, by the way. Oh my gosh, like, it was such a dream come true to like be on WWE TV, and just like finally I had a match with the three best women, Asuka and Alexa and Bianca Belair. I mean, I was so excited. I mean, you can probably see on my face, I was just so happy to like take
Girl,
Bianca
you took a
Belair's
KOD
like,
from Bianca.
The KOD.
Yes, like that's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is where I want to get at, because you're doing all of these things, you get this match on Raw. So where are you at in terms of, like, you're making appearances here and there? Have you already done a WWE tryout? And can you give us any details on what's going on with that?
I mean, I'm just, taking an opportunity that I can. And, before actually we had that match on Monday Night Raw, I remember Triple H was ringside. And I'm just so happy that, like, Triple H is back. He's in charge now, which is amazing. I mean, you've heard so many good things. Like, I know there's a lot of negativity stuff going on right now with wrestling and the internet, but it's nice to have like good news for a change. And like, you see Triple H doing all these amazing things, giving people opportunities, and it's true. I mean, when do you ever see, unsigned talent on Monday Night Raw, let alone females or, males getting the opportunity? So that was super thankful for Triple H and Stephanie. And it was so like surreal meeting them too. Like, that was just like a dream come true. Like, wow, I can't believe this is actually happening. Like, and we actually had like a little like semi tryout before the match, because they want to see how you get in the ring, how you're, and your facials and all that stuff for TV. So that was awesome. And we got the thumbs up, from Triple H and Nora Molly Holly. She's amazing too. Like, I can't believe, like, at one point I remember, we were going over the match, and Molly Holly stepped in just to, like, get in the ring. And that was surreal for me, because I grew up watching, Molly Holly was one of my inspirations growing up. Like, I loved her wrestling, her work ethic in the ring. Her and Chyna was my favorite. So I just tried to, like, get my inner Chyna when I'm in the ring. Like, since I was a girl, like, she was one of my biggest inspirations, was Chyna. So yeah, it was just amazing, like, to have that opportunity with Triple H watching ringside. And then he actually he was there backstage with Stephanie with their headsets on, and that was surreal for me. Like, now they're running the show. Vince McMahon was running it for years, and now it's just so cool to see, like, them back. And just like the morale, I feel like, is just so much, like, better. Like, you see so many people happy to be there. So
Did you get any feedback from either Triple H or Stephanie or Molly Holly? What
yeah,
kind of
I mean,
feedback did you
they
get?
said, so many amazing things, and just like they were just super happy with how it went, and just they gave like positive feedback, like, and that was like such an honor to hear from them. Like, that's what you want to hear, is positive feedback. So I'm just running with it. I just hope, I get the opportunity again to wrestle for WWE, or, make an appearance. That would be awesome.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, given that you're getting all of these opportunities, like, girl, it's only a matter of time till we see you like on NXT or something.
Yeah,
Especially because right now they do have, so many new. I mean, the entire NXT 2.0 brand is pretty much a bunch of new people that we're just starting to get to know. And I
right.
feel, and especially we're seeing a lot of the girls are starting to really grow on that brand.
Yeah.
Is that right now? I know is that your goal? Is WWE your goal?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, since I was a kid, so that's my number one goal. It's always been my goal, since I was a kid, since I started wrestling with WWE. So I'm hoping.
You got to get those, you got to keep the fingers crossed and
Yes.
see what goes out there, keep putting yourself out there. And
Yep.
do you know if you're going to be doing any more tryouts? Are you just like kind of waiting to hear back?
Waiting, yeah, just waiting to hear back. I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing, and just, getting my name out there, keep training, working hard, trying to improve every single day. That's all you can do, right?
Exactly, exactly. And now here's the thing too, like, you also got to do, like we mentioned earlier, earlier, all these appearances on AEW as well. You know, you got to do that match with Thunder Rosa, which was your debut. I know you got to wrestle Serena Deeb one-on-one on a Rampage when she was doing the rookie challenge. You got to do a tag team match and compete against Serena Deeb and Mercedes Martinez also on Rampage. What was the experience like with AEW, and how did that, you know, benefit you as a wrestler to, you know, basically get, you know, to not only be on Rampage, but also on Elevation?
I mean, it's surreal to me that I was given all those opportunities, and just like, it was crazy. Like, the match with Thunder Rosa in front of 20,000 people, it was their biggest show, Grand Slam, and it was also my AEW debut. And for me, I was just trying to take it all in, being backstage, you know, with all my heroes growing up. Like, for me, seeing Sting, you know, was my favorite. I used to dress up as him for Halloween, have posters on my wall, and Chris Jericho and Matt Hardy and all, you know what I mean? So, like, it was just surreal being there and having a match with one of the best female wrestlers, you know, Thunder Rosa. And that was just surreal for me. And then, you know, we set the tone by being the opening match too that night, which was just crazy. I was so nervous. I remember Dustin Rhodes, who's like one of my mentors, like, he's amazing. Like, I remember backstage, he gave me a little pep talk, and, you know, he made me feel comfortable going out there and confident. And that meant a lot to me because I grew up watching, you know, the Attitude Era. So seeing him and like Big Show and Mark Henry and everybody there was just amazing. So I have nothing but great things to say about AEW as well. Like, wrestling Serena Deeb, who's one of the greatest wrestlers, you know, going right now. And actually, I'm really excited. Next weekend, I'm wrestling her for the Immortal Wrestling Women's Championship. That's going to be awesome. I can't wait for that. I can't believe that, because they're going to be, actually, AEW's coming to my hometown in Albany next week. So, and she's going to, you know, stick around that weekend and fight her for the championship. So that's going to be fun.
I was gonna say, you get to wrestle Serena Deeb again. I mean,
yes.
like, for you,
for the Immortal,
yes. Oh my gosh, that looks so nice.
Champion. Isn't this awesome?
It looks so beautiful. I love the pink and the silver. Looks phenomenal.
Yeah,
I love
awesome.
it.
It's pink and black, and that was awesome. Like, Mike King, who's the promoter for Immortal Championship Wrestling, like, he surprised me recently after a match, and I had no idea what was going on, and so that was just surreal for me. Like, that they you know, have that faith and that trust in me to carry, you know, be the face for the women's division. And for me, like, I love wrestling, and like, I love like, when you can have a great match with somebody and just elevate each other and put on a great match and entertain the fans. Like, that's what it's all about for me. You know,
100%. And here's the thing too, like, you know, given that you've gotten to do stuff with both companies, do you feel that you would like prefer to go to WWE? I know that's your dream, that's been your lifelong dream, but is it something like you would still be open to going to AEW? Are you mainly just seeing like whatever opportunity, you know, comes your way?
I mean, yeah, like you said, any opportunity, I'm happy. Like, you know, wrestling, I love wrestling. So, you know, for me, any opportunity is amazing. And I'm just so honored, thankful that I've been given these opportunities that, you know, a lot of people dream about, and I'm still pinching myself. Like, I still feel like it's a dream.
That's so cool. And I feel like so much of it has to do not only with your work ethic, but I also think just like your general aura. Like, you just like, I feel like you're a very person. Like, I want to hang out with Kayla Sparks. She seems like a very positive person, and I love it. And here's the thing is that you have an interesting story too, because, and you kind of alluded to this, you know, earlier on when you were talking about growing up a wrestling fan and also having, you know, taken time off. And here's the thing, you started wrestling at 13 years old. I know you were a lifelong wrestling fan. I saw your video clip of you like as a baby Hulkamaniac. I saw all of the pictures with Sting, etc. You know, but I feel like, okay, so we need to talk about that, because 13 years old for a girl, like, you could be the biggest fan that you can be, right? But what was your family's reaction to like you going out there and pursuing a pro wrestling career at the age of 13?
I know, it's crazy, right? When you think about it, I don't think like that would happen nowadays. Like, I think it's just like more strict maybe now, but back then, you know, in the early 2000s, I don't know, anything went. And, you know, thank goodness for, you know, my trainer, Chip Stetson, which I'll get to that too. He's been one of my greatest mentors. Like, I call him my wrestling dad, because he's literally seen me grow up, you know, since I was 13 years old. And Chip's amazing. He has over like 25 years of experience. I love that he taught me like the old school way, which is what I grew up watching, like Hulk Hogan, you mentioned, and Ultimate Warrior, and all of them, those guys. But yeah, my family, my parents were really against it, obviously, because I was so young, and like, just, they didn't want to see their little girl get hurt, you know? So for me, but I really, they knew how much I loved wrestling. And my mom, the thing was, I guess the stipulation was my mom would attend every single practice to make sure I was okay, didn't get hurt. So I was like, all right. And as like my journey went on, I trained, starting at 13. I got to have the opportunities to travel around the Northeast, and like, being 13, 14, 15, 16, I didn't have a car yet. So my mom was, my way to get to the wrestling shows and everything like that. So that was fun. That's my like biggest, like fondest memory is like those road trips with my mom, and just like, having our car karaoke and Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody was like our favorite song. And just like, those are the memories like I love. Like, I know you do a lot of traveling in the business with wrestling and just trying to get your name out there. And yeah, going back to Chip Stetson, he actually he's still wrestling till this day, and he never really took a break, and that's amazing. Like he's still killing it. And he actually, when I came back to wrestling, he has a wrestling ring in his, and it's not backyard wrestling or anything, it's like a legitimate ring in his backyard. And when I came back to wrestling, I said, Chip, I need your help. I'm like, can you get the ring rust off and help me out? And that to me was just full circle, like being able, like, who can say they're back training like 14 years later, they're still training with the same person that got them in the business and trained them. So that was awesome for me. Like, that was like full circle moment. And now, at World Championship Wrestling, Chip is still there, and he's actually a tag team champion with his son Shane. So Shane Stetson. So that was awesome. Like, they're both father and son as tag team champions. So it's just a full circle surreal moment for me to go back to my roots. And just my anniversary is actually coming up. September 21st was my first wrestling match at 13. And now, it's 2022, and here I am just, still doing it. It's crazy to me.
Okay. So I have a bunch of questions, Kayla. First and foremost, I want to ask you, you mentioned that your mom was going to all of your trainings, etc. When did your mom finally be like, did she loosen up at any point? What was her initial reactions to seeing you take bumps and, seeing you be in there with, like, I'm assuming men, because there's not like it's very, very many women in wrestling schools.
Yeah, like it was crazy for me. I was the only female student at the time, but like I was saying earlier, China was my idol growing up. So for me, I was like, if China can do it, she can get in the ring with the guys and the girls. You know what? Girl power, right? Yes. That for me, like, and it made it even better because, being that I was young, the only female, the guys really took care of me. And it was just like, I was like one of the guys. Like, it was a, family, brotherhood type vibe. So I was really happy that, everyone was looking out for each other, trying to hype each other up and do your best work. So that was awesome.
So I know that, like, at first you kind of mentioned that it became like you were like a little sister to all the guys, but what was their like initial reaction when you walked in? Were you treated any differently in the beginning? Walk us through that.
I mean, mostly it was just, everyone was just like shocked, like, oh my gosh, this little girl, there's no way that she could be in here with the guys and bumping around, but they saw I took it really seriously, and that, I was there every training, twice, 3 times a week, just, trying to, I know everyone will say like the first bump is like the worst. Like that for me was just like, whoa, can they really handle it? Do they really want this? Can they handle the pain? And like, like wrestlers go through all the bumps and bruises and everything. But like, for me, I was like, it's worth it because this is what I've always wanted to do since I was a kid. So that to me, like, I just, brushed it off, and just, it was awesome to be in that environment. And, having my mom support me and go to all my shows was cool too.
So when you started practicing and you were obviously training with the guys, what did that feel like? Because I could only imagine, like, being 13-year-old girl getting in there and having to touch, like, having to be in there with the older guys. I'd be like, a little bit like, ugh,
I know. Well, you know what? There was a couple of guys there that were like, they're a little bit older, but they all still were like, around the same, not 13, but some of them were like 16, 17, 18. So kind of like they were still young. So ranging from that to, like, I remember the oldest wrestler there was like in his 50s. So it was cool to have that environment. Like, I remember there was a local news station that actually covered it. I'll have to find it in the archives, but it was cool. They like compared, like, 13-year-old Kayla and 50-year-old Skull in the ring, and they showed us like both. Like, it's cool. Like, it just shows like how wrestling can, attract generations, like male or female, young and old. Like, wrestling can be that. For me, it was always an escape for me as a kid. Like, that was just always my go-to, like, when life, got hard, or, like, because not to sound like a sob story, but like when I was younger, I got bullied and stuff in school. And so wrestling to me was always my escape. So that was, I was just getting into ninth grade at 13 and going into high school, that change from middle school to high school. And like, I love the fact that I could go to wrestling school, get all that angst out, all the things that were going on at school, and just be in that environment where it was just so welcoming and just everyone was looking out for each other. So I love that wrestling can, be that escape for people that you always hear stories about. So
I was gonna say, don't you think it's crazy that like in school you're getting bullied where it's like a bunch of kids
yeah.
your age, but then you go into like the wrestling worlds, which you would think would be like a lot more crazier
Right.
than obviously school, and then you find yourself into being
Yeah.
like more like in a more welcoming space.
Right.
That is kind of crazy though.
It
If you think
is,
about
yeah.
it.
Just toss each other around, give each other power bombs and flip each other. But it's okay. It's better than getting bullied at school, by losers, whatever. But that also too for me, like wrestling, like, I didn't I realized at a young age, but I didn't come out, sexually. I'm gay, lesbian, so like I didn't come out until like my early 20s. But going through that in school and getting bullied, because I didn't dress girly, I was a little bit of a tomboy. So now, coming back to wrestling, that too was like my thing, is that I'm really proud of the fact that I am, part of the LGBTQ plus community, and that I do wear my rainbow pride colors on my gear now, and I'm super proud about it. I talk about it, which I feel like it's a lot more accepting now than it was back then. So it's cool to like see so many LGBTQ wrestlers now like in the game that are just killing it, and WWE and AEW and on the indies. So I'm just proud to be a part of it, and proud to like just try and show support too.
I think so too. Like not just showing, like I feel like you're touching on so many different places because like
Yeah.
not only are you can like you never know who's watching you, whether you're watching you wrestle, whether watching you during this interview, there's
Right.
young girls out there, young kids out there that are like, oh, I want to, maybe try this. Am I too young? Am I not too young?
Right.
All of that stuff. So I think it's really, really just like important to like get your story out because
Yeah.
you just never know who's relating to you and what you're going through and all of that. But here's the interesting thing too, Kayla, is that not only did you start very young, but you were wrestling for a couple of years, and then you had to take some time off due to concussions. Yeah. Can you tell us what the story was there and what happened?
I mean, things happen in the ring. You try to not get hurt, but things happen, and I just remember when I did get the concussion, I blacked out for a couple seconds, which was super scary. And they say it's not good to continue the match, but wrestlers, we want to put on a great match, put on a show. We don't want to like quit. So like for me, thank goodness, I just remember I got the pin, they pinned me, and then I rolled out, and I literally could not get up for like a couple hours. I just remember feeling so queasy, and I was throwing up and everything, and I was so disoriented, which was really scary. I feel like I don't know. It happened when I was like 17, 18. I just remember, we were out of our state, and my mom was there, and I remember I was still in my wrestling gear, and she helped me walk from the wrestling venue to the ER. Like that was surreal, like crazy. And I just remember she took a picture, or my friend was with me at the time, and she took a picture of me. I'll have to find it somewhere, but I just remember being in the wheelchair, and I could barely hold my head up because I had a concussion. I was so like queasy and sick, and you see my mom like kind of like sitting there, but yeah, she was really scared for me, and I was scared too, because like that's a major injury, and that's actually why I took so much time off, because I don't know if anyone has ever had a concussion, or if you ever had a concussion or know anyone, but it's the lingering side effects. Like vertigo for me was awful. Like so like vertigo, if you're not familiar with it, it's you feel like you're on a roller coaster and your equilibrium gets off, and you don't know what triggers it. Like anything can trigger it. That's why I'm just like knocking on wood right now that I'm okay right now. Like 14 years later, I'm okay. So it's nothing that's triggered it. I know there's a lot of athletes that have concussions, multiple concussions, that are still, doing what they love to do, or just, it's the risk that you take, I guess, in any high impact sport, there are concussions. And so, yeah, that was really scary for me back then. And, thank God I'm okay now, like, I guess like I'm still alive, healthy. So I'm just, for me, it was, a lot has happened. Like 14 years, that's a long time. That's like half your life. So like for me, this past year, I went through a lot of like personal stuff, and just, I said, what's the one thing that made me happy? And that, it was always wrestling, and I was always very passionate about it. And I just said, you know what, go for it. Life's too short, and then everything that's happened from now until So then I just look back and I'm like, it's amazing everything that I went through and the concussions and the injuries and everything. So, and touching on that, I did have a little heart to heart moment. I remember when I was backstage at AEW and Daniel Bryan, he obviously had the similar, major concussion too, that he thought his career was over, that it was all over for him. But you see him back, he's killing it, he's doing his thing. And we just had that moment. I shared with him my story and he said, that's amazing. He's like, thank you for sharing that with me, and just, keep doing what you're doing.
That's so awesome. But I do want to ask you because,
Yeah.
when you're so young and you have this dream and, 17, 18, it's like such a, all of these, this is like, this age group is so important because it really shapes like what you're going to do with your future and what kind of person you're going to be and
Right.
all of that. So with that being said, I can't imagine being that age and having something like this happen where it's like, that's it. Your career, your dreams are, because obviously you have your dreams are over. This is not going to happen for you. You got to step away. What was that like for you? Like, what was it like, the couple years after when you saw that, your dream had been taken away from you?
I mean, it was so devastating, like, especially being that young and just like you feel like your whole life is over at that point. Like, I just remember I went through a couple of years depression and just feeling really down, like, oh, you go through the like, why me stage and stuff like that. But it was really scary. Like, the vertigo was no joke. Like, I just remember waking up in the middle of the night just feeling like I was like on a roller coaster and I didn't know where I was, and I would scream in the middle like, Mom, oh my God. Like, it was just really scary the first couple of years. But I tried to get through it. Thankfully, like, my friends and family were there to support, and I was always a fan of wrestling, so I still watched it, hoping that one day, eventually it'll all, be over with. And then finally, like, I mean, it's crazy to think, like, I 14 years, I did the whole, I was super lucky, blessed to be able to start a career outside of wrestling, like with IT. So I ended up getting a really good job and starting my career in that. And then I bought a house, which I was super proud at like 23. I was like, yay, that's all, like, like it's hard to do, like, especially in this economy in the day and age. But yeah, I just tried to always stay positive and, just try to do that. And then, when I went through a lot of personal stuff, and then, last summer I was just like, you know what, just go back to wrestling, do what makes you happy.
So what was that moment that you were like, you know what, enough, I'm good now, I can pursue this again, let me go back into it? What was that moment? And also from that moment on, what was your game plan?
I mean, you know what? I feel like everyone has a story. Everyone goes through like their personal, like traumas. I always look back on things and I don't look bad on it. I just look at it, that was an experience that I went through, and what was the lesson that I learned from it, instead of just saying like, oh, this negative thing that happened. You know what I mean? I always try to turn everything into a positive. It's hard to do, but once you just like, I know it sounds corny, but like, all these like stuff on the internet and memes, like, I really do believe in like when you manifest and you put your mind to it, like if you just believe that, what, good things are going to happen. Let me just stay on that mindset, stay on that, that goal. And that's what I did. So like, I'm sure people watching this, I hope we can relate. Like, we all go through like relationships and stuff like that don't work out. I was in the middle of, I was engaged to a woman. I was planning a wedding. Stuff didn't work out. I ended up just like, I was like, you know what, I sold my house. I was like, let me start fresh, let me start new. That was, the end of 2020, beginning of 2021. And I actually, I went on like the best trip of my life. Like, I remember back in like April 2021, before I even thought about getting back into wrestling, and I had this, planned trip to go to Disney for the honeymoon, but that never happened. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to go by myself. It's my first big trip by myself, a solo trip. How scary. That's really scary to do. Like, a lot of people don't like to do stuff on their own and independent. But for me, I needed that. I needed that, that motivation to just like, do something for yourself, like take care of yourself, and just, who cares, what coulda, woulda, shoulda happened, and just focus on the present. And that's, ever since then, I just remember like always just like be in the moment. Like, don't think about the past, don't stress about the future, because you only, just be in the present and be happy. Like, try to be, I mean, not every day is like happy. Like, I know I smile a lot and I appear that I'm like happy all the time, but like for me, it's just like, you go through the ups and downs. Like, that's life and stuff. But like, for me, like ever since then, I was just like, you know what, just always try to think positive, try to take the good with the bad. And then, the summer of 2021, I was like, wrestling, that's it. That's the one thing that always made me happy. And like, I always thought about going back to it. And just, I always had things like dragging me down, like, don't, people or whoever, what situations. And like, so now I was just like, you know what, I'm on my own now. I can do it. Let's do this. And then ever since I just been on that path, just go for it.
I really know I get you because I get it. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like, sometimes, believe it or not, but I tend to be like, I've gotten criticism for being like too happy, to get,
Right.
Because sometimes people are like, how could somebody be so happy? But it
Right.
really is a thing that I feel like if you are constantly this like positive person and you try to
Yeah.
think positive, it doesn't mean that you don't have any struggles. It doesn't mean
Right.
that you don't get sad or angry or depressed or all of this. It's just the way that you
Yeah.
kind of deal and handle things. So I 100% get where you're coming from on all of this, because
Thanks, girl.
I really do think that is the difference between like making it and not
Yeah.
making it with what
For
you want to
sure.
do, is how you tend to look at things. Because in this business, there's
Yeah.
so much rejection. There's so
Yes.
much, you question yourself. There's always going to be somebody that's, a younger, that's going to be faster, that's going to be
Right.
better, that's going to
Right.
be smarter, that's going to be prettier, whatever
Right.
the situation is. And it forces you
Yeah.
to judge your own self, And so
Yeah.
you have to be able to like work through
Yes.
that and see what you bring through the table. And so with
Yeah.
that being said, how did you get the ball rolling so fast for you after you returned? Because there's some people that have been going at this for a long time
Right.
that haven't gotten the same opportunity. So how do
Right.
you feel that, what do you feel that you did that you really, really had everything culminate together? And, again, like mention all the appearances that you've done.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best, Denise. I mean, you go through so many things in life. I feel like, as you get older, you go through experiences, and I feel like they make you can either, make a situation or experience make you better, or you can just like be negative and just like be depressed and have that victim mentality. But so for me, like, as soon as I like switched that, and I was just like, you know what, since I came back to wrestling, like you said, so many opportunities have happened, and like, I just always just try to think everything positive and just super grateful for any experience. Like, I don't, when I got back to wrestling, my first match back, which was just crazy to think about, I actually got into my first car accident, which was super scary. This car came out of nowhere. And I remember just like my life flashed before my eyes. I'm like, oh my God. And, like the first thing I'm thinking about is not that I died, but like, oh my God, I have my first match back after 14 years. Like, I can't die today. Not now, God. Not now, not today, Satan. So I was just like, I remember getting hit, and like, thank God, I remember I was like this close to hitting the guardrail. And, I know it sounds corny, but like, I feel like I don't know what belief or like religion that people follow, but for me, I feel like my guardian angels, like my grandpa and my Aunt Heidi that passed away, I feel like they were looking out for me because they knew how much I loved wrestling. And like, I just feel like I don't know, these opportunities that I've been given, that I've worked so hard for, like, I just feel like they're looking out for me. And I just remember that moment when I was sitting in my car after, getting hit by this vehicle. And I remember the cop actually was trying to make me feel better, like trying to not be like so scared about it, because I was shooken up about it. And I just remember like asking him, I'm like, is my car okay? Like, I know my wheel's about to fall off, but is it okay to get to the wrestling show? I'm like an hour away. I'm like, I just want to get to it's my first match. But I was telling him the whole story, and he was like, wow. He's like, that's amazing. He's like, I'm actually a fan of wrestling. He's like, he's like, not to sound corny, can I get your autograph? He had me sign on the back of like the police report. I thought that was like just funny, like surreal, funny story. But like, like something like that. Like, you could get hit by a car, have your car wrecked, and like you can either like be sad about it. Like, I remember my friends were just like, I would have just drove back home. I wouldn't want to have a wrestling match after that, like screw that. And I just remember I was like, no, I gotta get to my match. I gotta, and I remember getting to the venue, and everyone there were like, are you okay? Like, are you okay to have a match? And I'm like, that actually gave me more adrenaline, just to like, I almost died today, but you know what? It didn't happen. I'm here for a reason. Let's have this banger match 14 years later. And I just remember how excited I was to have that match. It was at Beyond WWR Plus against Rebecca Scott. And that was awesome for me. So ever since then, I'm like, I don't know. I just always was like, take every opportunity that you can. Mission Pro Wrestling, like you're saying, that opened doors for me too. Like Thunder Rosa gave me that opportunity. Like she's given so many women, in wrestling those opportunities, and just so super thankful for her. And after that, the opportunity with AEW came up, and I'm from New York. I'm from Schenectady, New York. So they thought about like, who's the girl to call that's from New York? And here I get a phone call from Thunder Rosa. I'm like, wow. I actually didn't get to meet her until then because she wasn't available. She was doing her AEW shows at Vision Pro. So that was my first time meeting her, my first time wrestling her, and debut at AEW. And then ever since then, I just, Capital Championship Wrestling has been another opportunity. Like that was amazing. There's so much talent now with women's wrestling, and I'm so happy that women's wrestling is finally on the map again, and just all the females are killing it. I'm all about girl power for me because I grew up watching, Spice Girls were like my favorite. So for me, I love the fact that women's wrestling is like getting the credit that it deserves and getting the same opportunities that the men do. So that for me is just amazing. And just, Capital Championship Wrestling, I had the tournament. And I was their first ever, network CCW title match network champion, which was just amazing, surreal for me. So, all these opportunities have just been awesome, and WWE and everything, it's just been great. So I've just been taking every day as it comes, and I'm lucky, blessed to have those opportunities.
I was going to say, good for you for keeping going, because I think like had I gotten in a car accident on my first match, I would have been like, this is a sign, girl, go back home, So I'm so happy that, you continued, you pushed forward, and you're like, no, I almost feel like just from an outsider's perspective, I almost feel like that was like I don't know, like the spirits basically being like, this is your final obstacle. Do you really want this? Here's your final obstacle. And you were like, went through it, continued on, and proceeded on. That's definitely incredible. Oh my God. Okay. So I do want to ask you as well, since we met at Mission Pro Wrestling and all of that, what was that experience like for you? You got to meet a bunch of women. I don't know if you already knew some of them or didn't know some of them, but what was that like for you?
Yeah, that was amazing. I mean, that was my first time in Texas too. Like San Antonio is beautiful. It's gorgeous. And I just remember, it was so awesome. Like I remember my match was with the Woad, and that was awesome. And just meeting, Kylan King was just starting out over there. Kylan's amazing too. Like she's killing it right now. I'm so proud of her, everything that she's accomplishing and for herself. And I'm super happy for her. And just, having that experience in San Antonio, I got to check out the Selena Bridge. For me was awesome. Like, cause I grew up, I loved Selena, growing up. She was amazing. And just like the bridge, I took a picture. It was just awesome. Like photo opportunities. I remember walking around and then being in that locker room, the Mission Pro locker room. Like I'm sure you've experienced it. Like I just love the fact that, the women were empowering women, just giving advice to each other, trying to uplift each other. Like that's what it's all about. Like that's what you want like every locker room to be. It's just everyone looking out for each other and try to put on your best match and everything. And just it was cool. It was awesome to be there. Like La Rosa Negra, she's one of the really cool ones. Just everyone there was just amazing. It was such an awesome opportunity to be there.
It's so cool. And it's funny too, because I remember when I first got brought on, I thought, oh my God, there's probably going to be a bunch of drama. And I will tell you this much. I've done I don't know, like a handful of shows, and I have yet to see one drama. I haven't seen any drama. So I'm like, this is great. People are always saying that women are drama. I haven't seen anything. If anything, I feel like now I've gotten to know more people. I met you, and I've gotten to meet more people. I spoke with Kylan King. We did an interview. She's a great story as well. So for me, like, it's just been really cool to kind of see and hear everyone's different stories and their backgrounds and how they got to this, point, right? It's just so cool. Now I do have to ask you, because you mentioned you're a Selena fan. What's your favorite Selena song?
Oh my God, of course. I love Bitty Bitty Bum Bum. That's my favorite. But she has so many amazing songs, but like that's just a fun one. And then obviously like Dreaming of You is every wheel. And like that's our biggest, I'm just really sad. I was always just really sad. Like growing up in the 90s, like that really affected me, was her story and everything, and how tragically she died. Like it wasn't right. It wasn't fair. But and like Left Eye too, like from TLC, like everything, like and Aaliyah. Like those were like the biggest like tragic things like growing up in Princess Diana. Not to sound morbid or talk about
You're just
everything,
like,
but yeah, like growing up in the
it
90s,
impacts you. It impacts you,
Selena
you
was one
know?
of my favorites.
Yeah, no, I completely get it. Oh my
Yeah.
God. All right. So I do want to go ahead and before we get into our final portion of this interview, I do want to ask you, and I know we kind of talked about your goals already, but I do want to ask you, like, right now, what your short-term goals are and your ideal long-term goals as well.
I mean, for right now, I guess we touched on it, but WWE is like my major long-term goal is to have a career with WWE for sure. And just, short-term goals, I feel like, I don't know, just like as in my backup, they always say have a backup plan. So like, for me, my career is with computers, e-discovery, that kind of stuff. So like I do have a backup plan there. And then, just I don't know, nothing specific, but just to be happy and, do whatever that makes you happy, no matter what it is, if it's wrestling or, whatever, just as long as you're happy, I guess.
Exactly. Well said, Kayla. All right. So we're going to go ahead and morph into our next portion, which is a Q&A round. I'm going to ask you 10 random questions
Okay.
and you just answer them however you please. So let's get to it. Question number 1, which wrestler were you most starstruck by?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we touched a little bit. Sting was the most starstruck for me because I grew up watching WCW Monday Nitro as a kid, and just Sting was my favorite. And I remember, practicing my wrestling moves on my Sting wrestling doll that I had, which, for me, like before I got back to wrestling a couple years before, I attended a meet and greet with Sting, and he actually picked me out of the crowd because one of his managers saw me with the Sting. I had the red and black Wolfpack Sting face paint on. I guess it was rare for, a female to have that. And I remember, he had me out and he's like, you're going to be on Sting's Instagram. And I'm like, I thought he was joking. I'm like, yeah, okay. I don't believe that until I got up to the line and I saw Sting and the camera was ready. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Like, and then Sting, I remember, was just so like, he was so shocked that like, he's like, I heard someone like a female out there did the better face paint than I did. I'm like, no, I'm like, that's not true. But like, yes, super starstruck by Sting, meeting him backstage. It was so surreal for me to actually share a ring, with who can say, as their idol hero growing up, they got to share something like, a wrestling ring in this case with, Sting for me was just a surreal full circle moment. Like, wow, you did it, Kayla. Like this, you did all this. And that for me was just amazing. And, Sting, he signed my wrestling doll, before. And I remember, just having that moment with Sting, and we took the picture backstage and at AEW. And every time I see him, like that for me is just super, super awesome.
Like, talk about a full circle, like circle run around twice.
Yeah.
Question number 2, who's your favorite person you have ever wrestled?
Wow, that's a good one. I wrestled, oh my God, so many amazing people, but just recently, I'll say, Bianca Belair.
That's a great one. That's
Yes.
a great one right there. Oh my God, I'm so excited for you. Really, I am. Question number 3, what's your go-to Starbucks order?
Oh my gosh. Well, recently, because, fall's coming, it's my favorite time of the year. I'm sure every girl, like, loves the fall, PSL season, but just recently, there's this new one out that's apple crisp iced macchiato with oat milk. So it's on the healthier side. So that's really good. I love that. But usually my go-to order is actually I'm a big fan of matcha. I don't know if you ever tried it.
I haven't tried it. I'm a picky eater.
I know it's an acquired taste. Like not everyone's a fan, but for me, like not only like the taste or whatever, but I do like the health benefits of it. Like instead of coffee, because I do love coffee, it doesn't give you the jitters as much as coffee, and it gives you like that natural, it's like a natural caffeine that's in. I forget what ingredient it's called, but if you look it up, matcha is really good for you. So I try to drink. That's my go-to Starbucks order, is the iced matcha with extra scoops of the powder.
Phenomenal. Question number 4, what's the last concert you attended?
Oh my gosh, actually, that's a good one. Surreal for me. Like growing up in the 90s, my favorite bands, obviously Spice Girls, no doubt, but I was front row. I got to see Alanis Morissette and Garbage. That concert. That was amazing.
I wanted to go to that, Kayla, so bad. It was a couple months ago, right?
Yeah.
I was so upset that I missed it.
Oh man, yeah. I think I don't know, because of COVID or whatever. I think she had to postpone some of it, but I think it's still going on. I don't know. You might have to check it out, but she's still. Oh my God, that was amazing. I can't believe the vocals that Shirley and Alana still have like live like that. They did everything live, and that was surreal for me. And all the hits, and like I was talking about earlier, not to bring up beat a dead horse, but going through the relationship that like ended, like that one song "You Want to Know" by Alanis is like every girl's like go to like like song like that they sing on the top of their lungs. And I just remember like having that moment, because I actually bought those tickets as a pre-wedding present, like, so for me it was like cathartic, I guess, in a way, to go there and just have the time of my life, not even think about it. I was just like, that was awesome. Alanis and Garbage. Yeah.
You're like, I feel it. You're like, I'm hanging on to every word, singing every word with all the passion in the world. No, I love it. I'm like, okay, so I love Alanis Morissette, but mainly like her hits, obviously. But Garbage to me, that was like my go-to band back in the day. It was like, and I've never seen them live, so that is just so cool. I love Garbage. Question number 5: coolest wrestling memorabilia that you own?
Oh my gosh, I'll buy my signed Steam doll. I guess like can't get any bigger than that. I do still, I do still have my old school Undertaker stand up. I know they used to like make, that has carried with me since I was a kid, actually. And it's funny because like when I moved, I sold my house and I moved into my apartment. I remember my friends from work that helped me move, and we brought my Undertaker stand up, and they were taking pictures with it. That was super fun. Like, my Undertaker stand up has been with me for a while. So
that's awesome. Question number 6: city, state, or country you most want to wrestle at?
Wow, that's a good one. I mean, my hometown, that would be actually, I did get to wrestle in my hometown. That's where I won the Immortal Championship Wrestling Women's Championship, in my hometown. But maybe, putting it out there, manifesting, if I get to, wrestle in my hometown for a major company like WWE or AEW. I know WWE is coming up in my hometown in Albany, New York, at the MVP Arena in November. So I'm hoping maybe one day,
manifest it, put it out there. Question number 7: favorite TV show?
Wow, there's a lot. Well, growing up, besides wrestling, obviously Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was my favorite TV show. I feel like I can't just name one, but Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, definitely. The Pink Ranger was my favorite. That's why, the Spice Ranger thing came about with the Spice Girls and Power Rangers. I did actually, I don't know if you can see it, but I have a Spice World tattoo that I just got.
Oh, I love that. I've seen that one. Yeah, I had seen that one.
And my
I love them.
So it all like came together.
You got to mix in the things you love.
I love Lucille Ball. She's amazing. For me, like, besides wrestling, comedy was always my go-to. Like, I love, laughing. I love making people laugh. So anything, I Love Lucy was my favorite. And most recently, I'll probably have to say, Stranger Things is really good.
Oh my God. I feel like we have so much in common. That's like, you're officially my spirit wrestler, by the way. If I'm ever going to ask the question, who's your spirit wrestler? I'm going to be like, it's Kayla Sparks. We're on the same wavelength here. Question number 8: social media app you're most addicted to?
I hate that word addicted. It sounds like you're like, I don't know, but I guess Instagram is nice because pictures, I don't know. It's like a silly one, but yeah, Instagram.
That's a good one. Question number 9: favorite Spice Girls song?
Ooh, I like that one. They'll Be There, because I just remember it was the summer of 1997. I know Wannabe is like their first biggest hit, but for me, They'll Be There is my favorite. There's so many Spice Girl songs, like I love them all, but They'll Be There, I love it. Just like the music video too was awesome with the desert and their awesome outfits, like their superhero gimmick thing. Yeah, I love that song.
And question number 10, last question: what's your all-time favorite meal?
Okay, let me think. I do love, I love a good chicken marsala. Is really good.
Ooh, that's like usually like the mushrooms, right?
Yes, yeah, and like the marsala wine I use. It's really good if you've ever tried it. Yeah, that's a good meal.
Sweet. Alrighty. Well, Kayla, that's a wrap for our interview here today. I seriously want to thank you. I feel like I've learned so much about you.
Aw,
You are so much fun just to have on here, like a genuine joy, honestly.
aw,
I wish
thank
you
you.
nothing but the best, and I hope to continue seeing, doing like everything that you've been doing. Seriously, keep going because you've got something, girl. But
Thank
before we
you.
go, please let the people know where they can follow you, where they can see you, all of that good stuff.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Denise. My socials are Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook is at Kayla Sparks 247. And there's a little story about that. 247 I use because not because of the 24/7 title in WWE, but my wrestling school with Chip Stetson back it was in Schenectady, New York. It was called 24/7 Wrestling. So that always stuck with me, the 24/7. So Kayla Sparks 247. You can check me out. There's my YouTube channel, Kayla Sparks. Yeah, and check me out.
Sweet. I'm going to post all of the links to that
Oh,
in the
thank you.
description box below. So if you guys want to follow Kayla, support her, all of the links will be down there as well. But other than that, that's a wrap for us here today. Please make sure to click that subscribe button here on the YouTube channel. We just surpassed 65,000 subscribers. My goal is to eventually get to 100K pretty soon, hopefully.
You got this.
I hope so. I'm manifesting it.
Definitely.
So please make sure to click that subscribe button, give this video a like, and also let us know what you thought of this interview in the comment section below. Until next time, I'm Denise Salcedo. This is Kayla Sparks. We'll see you guys later. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much, you guys.